How is it going, everybody? Oh gosh, so it's a hot one. It's a hot one because we are here back in the home country. We're here back in Greece, and this is the village that my parents came from. I'm actually in. Let me get my bald head out of the way here. I can. This is the village that my dad grew up in, actually, and we're at his family's house, which we rebuilt some time ago. And back there, behind that valley back there, or in that valley back there, is where my mom grew up. My grandmother's house is back that way. So let's see. I know that the white balance is not the greatest on this, but let's cope with it. So as you might be able to tell, I am not at my normal spot today. I am away in Greece and on the island of Andros in particular. And so today, I don't know if I'm going to be able to show you much inside of GPT. So I had actually planned on mainly just discussing AI news in general and what's going on today. Like I said, outside of the fact that I didn't really have, I at least have something to be able to work on, even if it's something live or just off the cuff. It's way more so that I'm shocked that I was even able to get on because I didn't know whether or not this connection was going to be able to sustain streaming. So there's that to start out with, and then the fact that just doing this, I think, is straining the connection enough to try to lower the amount of things that are on this Wi-Fi. Um, so I can't. I've even tried. I've tried while this has been broadcasting now to to do anything, and even, I can't even get the GPT page to load while this is running. So unfortunately, I'm not able to do anything in that regard. I'm not sure. It might be that GPT is down right now. It doesn't seem like it uh, for my phone. But yeah, I can't reach. Let me see. Oh, I might be able to reach Claude at any rate. So this week, there's been a lot of news. I wish I've been able to keep up with it all. To be honest, I have done my best. I've been visiting a lot of family and friends, so it's been difficult to keep up with the news, but sort of in a good way because I've been able to unplug for a couple days now. Even though it seems like we just got here yesterday, the travel has been interesting. So when I did catch up to the news and I did see what was going on and was able to actually uh, catch up to things, what I started to see was some unsettling stuff. Unfortunately, I mean, there's a lot of positive. There's always a lot of positive every week, but now there's starting to be like some pretty serious negative. And so some of the positive stuff outside of advancements that are being made in medicine, which is like very, very common at this point, really a lot of it is in relation to new models that are coming out. Again, you've got Google releasing, yeah, you've got Google Bard being intertwined and interwoven into a lot more services now, and YouTube is also going to be pulling in a lot more uh, of Bard's capabilities. Let's say Gemini is on the cusp of being released, and I think actually I think it's in early beta. I want to say it might be in early beta right now, but that's around the corner. And so with that came OpenAI increasing GPT's knowledge from 2021 limit to 2022 limit, even though this seems fairly insignificant for most people because well, I shouldn't say for most people. It's fairly insignificant for Plus users because Plus users have been using plugins to sort of get around the fact that they're limited to 2021. So now that it's up to 22, even though that's not the most significant jump for Plus users, even for me, to be honest with you, it is a jump because it's the speed at which you're capable of accessing the data, for one, and two, it's a matter of legitimacy and accuracy. So you can now pull the data and you can now use custom instructions if you wanted to double check the accuracy and say, hey, look, if you can find this information, then use it. But before you go ahead and use it, check it against use a plugin to check it against actual sources to make sure that it's a uh, legitimate story that you're putting together, a legitimate draft that you're creating, legitimate post that you're drafting, whatever it might be, right? So that's that's one aspect of it. I There was also well, not to get uh, too far off track in terms of being able to use a plethora of tools now to accomplish what you need to in GPT. But now you can do the same thing with Bard. And I don't know how much better those services are getting. It's only been a week. I haven't really been able to play with anything, so I wish I could tell you guys straight out the gate, but I can't. Not yet, anyway. So I'm going to try to spend some time this coming week uh, fooling around and fiddling around with some new stuff. There are a lot of new tools out there that I need to get my hands on. A really nice array of things that are out there for marketing, which I'm definitely going to touch on and be able to get out to you guys. There's some reviews that I've got coming out that are going to be for your note takers. I've got a review for cross document functionality. What is cross-doc functionality? Cross-doc functionality, I don't know if that's an actual technical term. It's just the way that I think of it and look at it. Is like AI cross-document AI functionality allows you to, in the case of Google, it allows you to give access to docs to basically cross-reference data that's in your cloud server, right? Your cloud file storage. In the case of individual apps, there are apps like Virtual Brain, there are apps like Versational that allow you to have multiple documents uploaded and cross-reference the data between those documents. Now, what's the difference between that and what Google's doing with Bard? Well, I mean, for one thing, security, right? Some people, trust the level of security that Google has going on. Other people don't. It is what it is. There's, there's different advantages as well. Most of those being, if you understand Google's history when it comes to applications, to realize that everything that they do is free, right? So you're not free. You're not paying for any of the services that they're offering unless you're in the enterprise club. And even then, I think you get your bang for your buck. So how does that come into play? It's that a lot of Google services that came out back in the day that are really great, that were really awesome, that should never have gone away. They just kind of just got left in the wind. The development just stopped and nobody ever bothered to continue. And there was really no follow up on a lot of it. So I see a lot of that happening coming up with Google with all of these features. I see them just like, hey, okay, just throw this in there and just get this into that software suite and then we'll deal with it down the road and we'll see if people want to use it down the road and if it's going to be worth anything. So I think there's going to be a lot of that. I think there's also going to be a lot of uh, the case. I think it's going to be a lot of other like that. I see that being a horizontal thing now where everybody is just kind of injecting AI where they can in every little corner and facet of whatever software it is that they're running. So that's obviously the most common thread there is out there. I don't think it's going to change. Soon as Google mentioned what they're doing with Bard and the fact that they're expanding their AI capabilities through all of their services, that's when you have OpenAI announcing that GPT's limitation goes up, and now OpenAI announcing that they're going to be incorporating Dolly as well into Dolly 3 on top of it into the next whatever release of GPT. I think it's going to come to Plus users this October. So I'm obviously going to be abusing the ever loving bejesus out of that because I am a huge Midjourney fan and planned on getting so much more of that done right now or over this break. I plan on doing so much video editing over this break, and maybe we'll get a chance to. I might get 2 days to do any of that next week. We'll see. But at any anyhow, I'm looking forward to what's coming down the pike, software wise. Things are starting to level out across the horizon. I think that's good. I don't really. It's not that there's an issue with having competition. There's no issue with having competition. It obviously pushes one company to do better than the other and to change the way in which they're working. I really love that Pi jumped the gun. If you haven't downloaded it on mobile, it's amazing. It's really great in terms of if you wanted to get a really good glimpse of what personal assistants are really going to look like go forward, that is the best way to do it is to just download Pi and start having a conversation with it. I can almost guarantee you, almost, I can't guarantee it, but depends on like what your level of interest is with this stuff, right? So if you have had a sort of interest in like, oh, I wonder what those conversations are going to be like. I wonder what the capability of the model is going to be like during having a conversation, that kind of thing. It's a really good glimpse into that. I think that Anthropic is doing a wonderful job in terms of creating a model that is specific to being a conversational model. It's not meant to do anything, even though it's a large language model as well. You can type to it if you want to. The mobile version is almost specifically meant for you to talk to it. And that's the next step forward, right? We've been type interfacing with GPT, which is great. There's nothing wrong with that. You can type interface with Claude, that's great as well. You can voice interface with Bard, and now Bard can voice interface back with you. So there's a conversation that can happen with you in Bard. There's a conversation that can happen with you in Pi. Pi is not necessarily, it can pull data. So if you ask it to reference something, it can actually pull that data. What's surprising, so the reason I bring that up is my cousin was here not too long ago, and she was visiting from another island, and there are multiple islands. I mean, there's obviously a lot of islands in Greece, but in particular where we are is called the Cyclades, Kyklades. And so it's essentially like a string, like a half circle string of islands. And in the middle of those is an island called Syros, which is where my cousin is from. And so she was coming here, and we were looking at ferries, and there were going to be ferry strikes, and so we were trying to figure out whether her boat from here back to Syros was going to get any sort of delay, or if there was going to be any issues. And so before anybody went to go jump on any website or anything like that, or pick up the phone number to call somebody, my wife immediately loaded up Pi and just asked Pi, and it knew. Right? I didn't realize, but it was fully up to date and was able to let us know like what the ferry schedule was, whether or not they were on strike, what time they were running, and which ferry to catch, which company to go with, what the average price was going to be. It's that aspect of things to me is so priceless. It is so priceless to have every ounce of the capability that we've currently come up with, whether it's in the form of your phone, whether it's in the form of your laptop, whether it's in the form of your desktop, it does not matter, right? It's that we've created this. We haven't created a hive mentality, but we've created a hive of knowledge that we can access, right? We've created this huge, massive, internet of knowledge, and having the access to it on your phone is one thing, but the fact that you have to type and know what to look for, it's a thing. It's a process. We're humans. We're getting lazier as time goes on. It's just the way that it is. We want information faster at our fingertips. What faster? What faster way than rather than we're all used to it, right? We're all used to turning to a friend of ours, turning to a family member, turning to somebody we know, and asking them as if we were going to query Google or GPT or any other service to figure out an answer to something. We turn to somebody else and we ask them, "Hey, do you know about this?" Or "Hey, do you know anything about that?" Well, why I find this so funny is because this entire time that we've all been working with these models and that we've all been doing quote prompt engineering, which is why I've always sort of laughed at that term and laughed at the idea of prompts in the first place. I laugh because you have to understand, I look at this stuff from a gaming model perspective, and I have for a long time now. I look at life in general from a gaming model perspective. What do I mean by that? If you understand simulation theory, you understand exactly what it is I'm talking about. And so simulation theory posits that everything that we're doing, everything, everything that's going on is just a very, very high, extremely high resolution, extremely high sort of sense of reality simulation, right? And if so, let's put it this way: it's almost like it's a bit like Avatar, right? You go to sleep in one machine, you wake up in another as a different being that can feel, touch, all that kind of stuff, right? But really, it might be somebody who's just asleep somewhere. Who knows? At any rate, and if you think about it on those terms, right? So again, I kind of like going down this road. I don't know what other people feel about it, but if you think about it on those terms, you think about Avatar. Eventually, the avatars had to sleep, right? The people had to clock out, and then the avatars basically went to sleep nearly, whatever, fell dead, however you want to put it. And it's very similar to what we do. I'm not saying that brain activity ceases when you sleep. It doesn't. So it's obviously not the same in that regard. But it's just funny that it's sort of a lift of the same mechanic. At any rate, it being a simulation, let's say, or being able to use simulation and game theory in relation to this stuff helps to sort of uh, fill in the gaps, so to speak. So to bring it all back, I laugh at it because whether you're asking your friend or whether you're typing a search into Google, you're prompting, right? At the end of the day, you're prompting. You're prompting somebody with a question, or you're prompting a search engine with a question, or you're prompting GPT. That's all prompting at the end of the day. So to say that you're a great prompt engineer is the equivalent of saying that you're great at asking questions, or you know how to properly phrase things. You know how to very effectively and properly phrase things, or you know how to very effectively and properly ask questions, or just overall you are very effective. You know how to very effectively and properly apply the English language, right? I suppose. Uh, that's really what it comes down to at the end of the day for me. I know for a lot of people it might be that might seem like off the wall crazy or what have you, but when you think about it, it's all the same thing. It's just that it's happening to different mediums or different uh, organisms, if you want to say it. I don't know how you want to phrase it, but whether it's a person, a machine, or an AI, you're still performing the same action. Which is why when it comes to the whole debate over whether or not training models on copywritten data is a bad thing, or whether or not the copywritten artist should be compensated for it, now you got, I think Stephen King recently joined. I think James Patterson recently joined. I want to say John Grisham, but no, George R. R. Martin uh, joined the lawsuits against OpenAI. Right now, look, I don't know. Are these people that starved for money? Are they really having trouble paying their bills? Right. What I'm trying to work out is how they like who is explaining it to them that is upsetting them. Like, how is it getting explained to them? That's what I really want to know. I want to know how it's getting explained to them that like it's to a point where they feel like, oh, this somebody is ripping me off, and somebody's making money off of my stuff. Like I just want to know how they're getting to that understanding, or how they're getting to that conclusion, because to me, I gotta say, I don't see the legal premise. I don't. I look at it. I realize that I look at it very differently, because for for me, it's that these models are being trained. These models being trained is the same thing as you and I going to a library and reading a book. That's just the way that it is. It's being trained on data that's available. It's no different than you and I going to a library and training our brains on data that's available in the library. Those are all copywritten materials. Now, if you had a eidetic memory and you walked into a library and you read every book in the library, and they had all that knowledge in your head, is that somehow grounds for a lawsuit? Even if you then turn around and become an author, or whatever it is you do with your life, technically whatever you do with your life thereafter would be the exact same as utilizing leveraging GPT. because you're just leveraging the knowledge that was trained on. Okay, so you're doing it, like that's why I say like you're doing the same thing at the end of the day. It's not a matter of somebody taking someone else's knowledge for the purpose of solely for the purpose of making money off of it, right? That's not the sole purpose of GPT. Yes, it does earn income, right? Yeah, like look, somebody's got to keep the lights on, right? They've got to do it somehow. And Daddy Microsoft isn't going to pay for everything. So the company has to have its own earnings. As a 501c, by the way, as a nonprofit organization, it makes money in order to cover all of the servers, in order to cover all the bandwidth, in order to cover whatever it is, like all the stuff that they need to cover in order to make it possible for us to be able to use this technology, right? So that's that. I'm just going to leave that there. I find it ridiculous that even more writers have jumped on the bandwagon there. I wish, I wish they wouldn't. I wish they would try to understand what's being done with their work. I wish they would understand how their work is advancing the human race, as opposed to just earning them another few shekels or whatever it might be. Um, it's the selfishness at the end of the day is what's going to hamper this tech. I wouldn't say more than anything else, but right alongside regulation. And what a perfect segue, because that's where I wanted to go with this. I've been trying to stay on top of the regulation aspect of things, and I think I've been doing a decent job at it. The only reason that I don't get too involved in it is because obviously it is becoming, for us on our side, it is becoming insanely political. Yes, obviously it's part regulation is part of politics, but what I mean by that is it's becoming a bipartisan fight now, right? Which is stupid because it's not I shouldn't say a bipartisan fight. It's becoming a fight between the two parties, which is again it's stupid because we're not going to have any forward motion. We're not actually going to have any regulation passed, so we're just going to keep sitting and twiddling our thumbs, right? While this stuff keeps advancing in the middle of the night, constantly, just all day, every day. That's all it's doing is constantly making advancements every single day. And you know, you you guys, you have to ask yourselves a question at some point. At some point, right? You got to ask yourselves: does OpenAI already have a super intelligent form of AI that they are using to sort of self-advance, right? To advance the company. It's really not that far-fetched. I know that seems like, yeah, we're about to enter into a whole new world of conspiracy theory, and I won't be the person to start championing any particular belief or conspiracy. But it to me, if you're smart, you're utilizing this technology in the way that you're supposed to. Okay, Stephen Fallon, who came up with Davis, he let the chain off to allow the machine to come up with its own invention. It did, which this guy's now making crazy money off of, and is patented in a number of different foreign countries where the product is being made and sold. It's a new form of a cup, and it's actually not only crazy ergonomic, but it's quite literally the most efficient form of a cup that you could possibly create. And it was created by this AI, unprompted, right? So like it wasn't given any sort of instruction on how to create a cup or any context. That's the most important part. There was no context involved. So without any context, it was just asked to create the most efficient like beverage container, and that's what it came up with this design and this uh, invention. Essentially, it invented its own the first invention created by an AI. At any rate, of course, the U.S. Patent Office won't won't grant them a patent for the cup, and it certainly won't grant it to Davis specifically. So that's part of the 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 funny part of it is that the patent that was granted in other countries is granted to the machine. It's not granted to the creator. So this is the same guy who tried to get who got shut down. It was a big case that was public, got shut down by for copyright because his machine again it's very you could think of it as the same scene if you have watched Chappie. It's very much the same scene as when Chappie is sitting outside and its creator asks him to draw whatever he wants to draw. He can do whatever he wants to do, and sits there and starts sketching, right, and starts coming up with something. I think there was the same scene in Ex Machina, and that's essentially what happened. Is Davis came up with its own rendition of an image, but the copyright office wouldn't cover it because not really copyright material or whatever. I don't know how you want to. It's not that it wasn't because it wasn't created by a human, basically. Like that, and it doesn't count for some reason. I don't know. Again, I don't know why. Don't know how to explain it to you. To me, I would have actually granted it. Um, wow, I can only now see that this is going to be like the worst quality, one of the worst quality episodes. I've got to stop trying to do this over Wi-Fi. It just does not work well at all. Hopefully, next week I'm still going to be here, but I'll still be in Greece, but I'll be in Athens, and I'm hoping to be able to get a stable, more stable connection. I think it's also the bandwidth of this connection is very, very low. So anyhow, back to the topic at hand, regulation. So there's the aspect of things from our country, right, where all the top guys are meeting with Chuck Schumer and his buddies in Congress to try to come up with a plan on how things are going to be regulated with regards to these companies making any sort of advancements in whatever direction they're going in. Well, for one thing, you're meeting with the top creators. So guess, what has always happened in the past when the top people get together to create the regulation. I mean, of course, look, of course you want the foremost experts to be the ones to offer their opinions. But at the same time, we all know that they're going to be doing this under the guise of trying to make things better for themselves personally. And what I'd like people to try to take into account is that Amazon has annual contracts with the government, okay? And not through like any sort of delivery service, parcel service, anything like that. They've had annual contracts with the CIA. I'm not making this stuff up. You can go look it up for go look it up for yourself. It's public domain. Um, they've had government contracts for some time now. Why is that important to bring up? It's important to bring up because Senator Schumer's daughter, one of his daughters, works for Amazon. Yeah, you know the company that's trying to help in terms of writing AI regulation. Turns out that the person who is the head of the oversight committee on AI regulation has a daughter who works at one of the companies that's also helping to create the regulation. Right? A little bit of influence there. Then you have Meta, right? You got Zuckerberg there. Oh, wait. I believe Schumer's other daughter works at Meta. Don't you think that that creates some sort of a, I don't know, bias? Isn't that like the biggest term of the year? Bias, trying to take bias out of the system. Shouldn't we have somebody in place who is a younger and can probably use this technology themselves and understand how it works, and B has zero interest, zero vested interest. Okay, if Schumer's daughters are working at these companies, that means that Schumer is also financially invested with these companies. Okay. So everything that's going to be done in terms of US regulation go forward is going to be in the best interests of both the companies and the government. Will have absolutely nearly nothing to do with the people. I mean, almost per usual. We'll basically just be getting the toys to play with. I don't think that the regulation that's going to get that's going to go into place is going to be the type that is going to. I don't think it's going to be the type that's in place in order to actually keep people from doing negative things. Why do I say that? Well, if you haven't caught the post yet, I'm pretty sure it's already published. There was a article that came out, I think from the AP, yeah, it came from the AP, or at least I got it from the AP, and talked about how you know I don't like bringing this stuff up again. Like this is the bad side. This is the negative side of things that I was talking about earlier. I don't like bringing this stuff up, but I bring it up only because again, you guys have kids. I know a lot of you guys have kids. If you don't, you're probably going to. If you're not going to, you probably have nieces and nephews. You know somebody. You know people who are going to get affected by this. So this country's already been through the whole Snapchat thing, whole Snapchat issue and phase. Well, get ready for the next version of that. If it's not, and I'm sure it's already happening. It's just that it's definitely on the down low, and I know for sure the stories are going to start leaking out in America because just from this story. So, Associated Press reported about a story in Spain where, excuse me, story in Spain where a young girl went home and told her mom that she had discovered that there were images of her naked going around on the internet. This girl's 14 years old. Okay. Her mom, probably natural reaction that, I don't know if it's a natural reaction. I don't know. I haven't raised a little girl myself. In this day and age, I would scary thought for me. Um, at any rate, the mom asked the girl, did you take the pictures? Are they your pictures? And they just got out there. She said, no, no, they're not hers. Said somebody took images of her from her social media and put them with somebody else's naked body. Now, this isn't Photoshop, even though that's totally possible. It's been possible forever now to do that kind of stuff in Photoshop, right? Still, you have to know how to use Photoshop. You have to know how to do it, and it takes time. It takes a lot of effort. Okay, this is one of the downsides, the negative side effects to Insta art, if you will. Somebody basically was taking, if you know how to do this stuff, then you know how easy it is, or what have you. But somebody is taking these people's pictures, right, and they're combining them with uh, generative art, and it's causing a problem. It's causing a big problem. It's only going to get worse. I think it's going to metastasize badly for two reasons. One, because somebody wrote a story about it. So maybe if they didn't know about it before, a lot of people who shouldn't are going to know about it now. And unfortunately, these tools are they're overtly accessible. Overtly. What I wrote about in my post was that this is the this is one of the great negative side effects to open sourcing is that you don't know who is wielding your godlike technology. And that is what we've created. We have created godlike technology. We can create other things in whatever image we see fit, however we want to. We only have to dictate it. So I think this is the first of what I feel will be many somber moments with the release of this technology. I honestly, I wish it wasn't happening. I wish it would have taken so much longer for this to even be a thing. I'm not sure what, like, I don't know how a lot of these open source image models are set up, or in what way. In other words, I don't know if they come predefined with sort of like limitations to them. I imagine they don't. Or if they do, I imagine there's a way to get around it. there's certainly ways to get around GPT's limitations. It's been done. It gets done all the time. So that's this to me is like this is the first really really big negative. It is pretty scary. I think that if it hasn't hit the U.S. yet, it will very quickly, very soon. But I do think that it's definitely already there. I don't think that it's isolated to one country alone. This was in Spain, I think, in case I didn't mention it, and and it's a little bit frightening. It's a lot frightening. I have a lot of friends. They all have kids. It's very frightening for parents right now. I can imagine. I can't. I really can't imagine. Um, when it comes to this stuff, when it comes to this tech, it's really important, more so than anything else. It's important to know who is working on developing what. I don't know that there's any way of even keeping tabs on that because we have a such a free, like, open commerce system as well. There's no way to prevent somebody from trying to make a buck off of whatever it is that they're developing either. Somebody can, especially now, you can develop an app in a day. So now more than ever, regulation is super, super important. I've been beating that drum since the beginning of the year. I've been beating the drum since the beginning of the year that the truth is dead. Critical thinking is what's most important. Creativity is what's most important. Thinking outside the box is what's most important. Regulation is overtly important. It's too late. It's already too late. A lot of people were saying, were we going to get in front of it? Are we going to get in front of it? I knew we were never going to get in front of it because the people who are supposed to be helping out with this regulation are too old. The that's the bottom line, and AI said so, right? These people are too old. They don't know how the technology works well enough to be able to get in front of it and understand why it needs to get shut down in what particular way. If it were up to me, I would shut down every image generating technology that was available open source, at least in the US, or access to it in the US. I would absolutely shut it down because it's not getting regulated. It is not regulated in the way that it needs to be. At least Midjourney is regulated. At least Leonardo is regulated. A lot of these AI models that are obviously they're professional, they're being released through professional services who have to take these considerations in mind. Otherwise, they get sued. But you can't, when it comes to the use of open source models and open source code, you have to go after the individual, assuming that you can track down the individual, which I'm assuming is extremely difficult. Okay. I don't know. Hopefully, it's a lot easier. Hopefully, the cyber task forces are also instilling their own AI to help them catch people faster who are doing this kind of thing. Maybe that's the way it goes. This is the first Ultron that we're going to have to chase down. It's not. It's not. I went too far there. It's not Ultron, but here's the first abuse case that we're going to have to chase down for a while. It's going to be a thing for a while now. It's going to be the whole new thing. Okay. And if you think this is going to stop at image generators, you're wrong, because there are movie generators out there as well. You all know that. Runway's out there, Kyber's out there, there's other services out there. And of course, because those exist, you can go to Hugging Chat or Hugging Face or wherever, whatever GitHub repository you want to, and get the same models and run them privately on your own servers, run them privately on your own computers, and develop whatever you want to. You can create whatever you want to on your end without anybody knowing. So stepping outside of that boundary, now you got, it's not now. It's been there for a minute. Blender's put up with OpenAI for a minute now, so it's not going to be too much longer before before somebody starts doing this stuff on an even worse scale, like in a far worse way. I don't want to get into the specifics of it because it's go check out the story for yourself if you want to. But like I said, this is definitely the worst negative so far. It won't be the it absolutely won't be the last, and it absolutely won't be the worst for long. I'm sure it will be outdone very, very soon. Sadly, I think it will be outdone very soon. The wrong people are starting to get their hands on this technology. That's the long and short of it. Absolutely can't abide it. Need to be able to regulate it. Need to be able to chase people down who are doing it. Need to be able to figure out a way to police this. Is that maybe again, maybe the solution is another AI system that polices this kind of stuff. Maybe that's what the solution is. I don't know. I don't know, but they need to figure it out soon. Outside of working on how they're going to make things fair for everybody to develop whatever softwares they're developing, uh, I think it's absolutely critical to figure out how to stop people from abusing these models in a way that absolutely weren't it wasn't intended in the first place. Gonna move on. Gonna try to find more. There's positives out there, guys. It's just that I don't know. This one it really bothers me again because at least I was hoping that it was gonna be like next year, maybe like that it was gonna take the bad guys a little while to figure it out, but whatever. Um, moving forward, there is a lot. So again, Dolly coming out for GPT in October. Absolutely going to be playing around with that because I definitely want to see what that is going to do for the image generation competition that's out there between, again, Dolly, Stability AI, Midjourney. I don't know that Stability is like really they're trying. I'm sure they're going to release a new version. Coming full circle to what I was getting at initially, which was based on Bard doing more releases. Bard's doing more releases. Claude is expanding its memory capability and its natural writing capability. GPT is expanding its image generation capability, which I believe Bard may have. That's how you can tell it's getting difficult for me to keep up, but that's silly. I should know this by now. I know that Bard can fetch images. I don't know that Bard is an image generator. It may be. If it is, I'm very sure it's weak. I'm very sure it's crazy weak. I I say that because I know no one who is using it as a primary to creating images. And no one's writing guides on how to generate images with Bard. To put it that way. Okay, so there's Midjourney. There's going to be Dolly 3, and supposedly what the interest is in Dolly 3 to me is that it's supposed to be fully like like natural language driven. But on top of which, it's supposed like I shouldn't say supposedly. I've seen a couple test images. The text being able to do full legible text. If you've worked with generative art models, you know that doing text is a nightmare. That you essentially have to which is not the end of the world. Really, it's not difficult to sit there and take the image that you come up with and combine it with either Firefly or any other app that can generate text and just lay one over the other. Not a big deal. So but it's nice to be able to do it all in one shot and to have it in the right place and to not have to sit there and manipulate it and go into Photoshop and do all that kind of stuff. So it is going to be nice to have that going on. Um, what else? Oh, well, so far as I can tell, and what I've picked on from a lot of, or what I've picked up on from a lot of what Altman talks about in his tours, is that as close as everybody thinks that other companies are to catching up to GPT or passing GPT or creating something better than GPT, you guys have to really understand that this guy Altman, he is constantly holding on to the genies in the bottle, and there's always one more bottle. that hasn't been opened yet. He is constantly one step ahead. OpenAI is constantly one step ahead. So even if you think that this is like some huge stuff for Google, it's not. Dolly 3 is definitely going to be massive, massive. I'm not like, I wish I was joking about that. It's going to be massive. Even if it's not quite as good as Midjourney, you have to understand there are a lot of GPT users who don't use Midjourney, but now they're going to have access to an image generator on top of having access to this massive large language model on top of having access to plugins. Now, I don't know. This is where the disconnect happens. That kind of sucks. I don't know if it's the case where you're like, what I wish is this stuff was defaulted. What I mean by that is I wish that data analysis was there by default. So any conversation you opened up had the ability, had the data analysis capability in it. I wish that that was combined with plugins so that you could do data analysis on current data that you have, and then also be able to enable plugins to be able to basically combine that and cross-reference that against other data, currently existing data. Thanks, Leonard. Uh, Definitely it was worth the trip, that's for sure. Here, let's see if I can. There we go. Do it one more time for you guys. So it's awesome. The sunrises, the sunrises and the sunsets. Like it's definitely a baller to be in a place where you can see both in the same day without a problem. Like you could sit right here on this balcony, and see sunrise up over this mountain, and then just go drive a little ways, like 30 minutes or so, maybe not even 30 minutes, up to the top of this mountain that I'm on right now, and watch the sunset on the other side. Well, we're actually tomorrow morning we're gonna go watch it come up over the horizon, as opposed to just over the mountainside. But and then go watch it set on the other side. Anyhow, so where was I? Oh, okay, yeah, image generators. So not a lot of people. I shouldn't say not a lot of people, but people who use GPT. Again, it might be a lot of marketing people, a lot of professionals, and even though there are a lot of professionals on it who also use Midjourney, I don't think there's an enormous crossover there. I think it's smaller than most people think. However, I think once this image, it sucks, right? Like, so where I wish there was the crossover, I don't think that's going to happen. It would be sick. Why? Because there's a Canva plugin, right? So, it's like, again, taking things one step further would be awesome to be able to generate the image and then use the plugin to basically just take all of that into another service and have everything done for you, right? But even still, it's not like it's going to be difficult because now I only have to use like maybe two softwares, right? It's getting to that point. A lot of people ask me, like, what other softwares do you use? It's always a question of what is it I'm trying to accomplish? Do I already have the tool set to do that? And does it do it extremely well, like to the degree that I want it to be? Can it do it better? Or is there another tool that I should be using that can do it better? Speed is almost a non-relative factor, oddly enough, right? Because all of these things are meant to operate at lightning fast speed. So that's not really ever a concern. It's really how close is it going to get to what it is that you want. And when it comes to, oh, I use this other external software and it hits the mark every single time, that's one thing. But what's your mark is the other determining factor, right? So especially when it comes to writing, there aren't too many other softwares out there that are going to innately be able to pick up the way that you write. So like if you're looking for something that's going to write like you per se, that's where Claude and GPT sort of come, head and shoulders above everybody else because you're able to train them to write like you. Whereas, and you're able to do this for free too in both cases. So as opposed to having to pay people, I did if you guys aren't part of prompt practitioners, you should be. It's a great Slack group that you can get into. That where that's all we do is just talk AI. We talk about different custom instructions that get used, different personas that get used, all new AI toys that come out, functionality that comes out, latest releases, updates, all that kind of stuff. So if you're as into it as I am, definitely join up. And there was an event that we had just this past week, and I had the honor of being able to talk during the event. And one of the questions that came up during the Q&A was whether or not I use Jasper and what I thought about Jasper by comparison to all these other softwares. This is a really good example of what are you trying to accomplish? What is it like you're using Jasper because it's a AI writing software. Okay, why? It's powered by OpenAI. It's powered by GPT. So you're about to go pay for a software that's powered by a free software. Now, it's not powered by the free edition of that software, but what's a Jasper membership? Let's see. Can I? But I don't know if I can actually pull this up at the same time. But let's see if I can. Wow, I has no problem pulling up websites, but as soon as I try to go pull up a GPT, it seems to really just not want to do it. Legitimately just doesn't want to do it. Okay, almost at the pricing page. Okay, so creator version, $40 a month. $40 a month, twice as expensive as GPT. And what are you getting for this $40 a month? Okay, one brand voice. Okay, so you can teach it one time, I guess, or well, you have one preset of a brand voice, which brand voice is the exact same thing as custom instructions, exact same thing. So essentially, it's telling you you get one preset of that. You can obviously change the brand voice to be whatever you want to be, which is the same thing as changing out custom instructions. So okay, so they both have custom instructions. Um, 50 knowledge assets. Okay, what are those assets? And 50 templates, and then access to SEO mode, and use AI everywhere with browser extension. Well, first and foremost, I can tell you that the Jasper browser extension, annoying, super annoying. If you have Grammarly as an extension, you already know how much that little thing can follow you around everywhere, and how it just like pops into every terrible spot in a text box that you wish it weren't, and you'd have to move it out of the way all the time. Jasper's so much worse. It is. I didn't think that anything could get more annoying than the Grammarly plugin, but Jasper managed to do it. So anyhow, um, $40 a month to do the exact same things you can do in GPT. Now it's got 50 templates. Okay, what are the 50 templates? You might as well have 50 prompts, 50 pre-made prompts of whatever it is you were trying to accomplish. If it's a template for blog writing, I can assure you most of these templates not that great. And anything that you can do in uh, in Jasper, you can do in GPT. You can probably do it better in GPT because of the fact that it's more open ended. You're having a conversation with a model that's helping you frame your work, as opposed to you having to frame the work. And there's really not like a conversation to be had. It's not a memorized conversation necessarily either. Like the functionality is completely different. Okay. If if you had a company that knew nothing about generative AI, absolutely nothing, Jasper's the way to go. It is the Canva of generative AI text. That's the best way I could describe it. Now, if you know better, then you can sort of upgrade and cut your costs in half by going with GPT instead. And I'm almost absolutely certain that the enterprise level of GPT is cheaper than the enterprise level of Jasper. So especially if it comes to that point and you're doing it on a corporate scale, highly suggest that you think twice. Um, yes, Jasper has a more inviting UI, so it looks nicer. It's like GPT's like Android, Jasper's like Apple, right? You can't do the same stuff with Jasper. There's no data analysis tool. There's no plugins. The capabilities that you have with that software are solely for content creation, solely for writing. And I think they're going to include an image generator. Who cares? Is my response. Again, if you're brand new to the stuff, it's awesome. If you're brand new to all of this stuff, Jasper is amazing. It's absolutely amazing. It like, really, even the first time I saw it, it blew me away. So don't get me wrong. It's not like I have changed my mind. When I first saw it, I thought it was amazing. Thought I had quite the capability, but also believe that the model that I saw that was being tested was very different than what came out uh, during release, and what I was playing with live was very, very underwhelming by comparison to what I had seen in a demo. So that was the first thing that sort of turned me off to them. Then my wife actually ended up purchasing it to use with her company, and so of course I got to play around with it a little bit as well, and that's when I learned that the capability of it was not quite what it was all what it should have been. And perhaps it was that something was amiss and they had to go back to development on something, and whatever the case may be. Again, now it's got a whole flurry of different options and capabilities and all that kind of stuff because it has to try to keep up with the Joneses. So yeah, I mean that's my 2 cents on it. On using other softwares. At the end of the day, just have your toolbox, take what you need, use what you need, figure out what works best for you. Again, I highly recommend, if you do nothing else, if you're trying to get into this stuff, just get a Plus account for GPT. Then go look around at get the Plus account, play around with plugins, play around with data analysis, play around with custom instructions. Then, if you are like unsatisfied, guys, I don't work for OpenAI. I don't. I don't get paid to plug them. I don't get paid for any of this shit. I just do it because I love it. And I'm telling you, not only I'm telling you, I have told this to other people, and they have gone and done it, and they've come back and they've said, "Man, I'm so glad you told me to do it because it's awesome. It's a game changer." Game changer. There you go. There I go using that bullshit jargon term. But it really is, right? It really does uh, change your outlook on what the capabilities are of these things, and it also changes your outlook in terms of how how much more invested you need to become in other softwares, because part of the bigger issue is stepping back from like what is capable of doing what, uh, is how much are you willing to spend on a monthly basis to do this stuff, right? So for $20 a month, uh, being able to play around with this stuff for $20 a month, being able to really, really cut a ton of time out of your week every week. Even if you don't use it for work, if you do any sort of planning, if you do meal planning, if you do meal prep, if you're trying to plan out a new workout, if you're trying to plan a vacation, if you're trying to plan anything, if you're trying to do any sort of logistical work. I mean, I've used it. I used it just today for a multitude of things. One, I look, I remember a lot of stuff, but I'm not that great. I forgot how to dial numbers in this country. Okay, and I had to send a text message to somebody, and so of course, without any hesitation, I pop open GPT and I'm like, "Hey, here's the phone number that I have to call. How do I call this phone number? I have an American phone and I'm in a foreign country. How do I call this phone number?" Boom, there it is. Not just there it is. I could select it and call, right? Select it and send an SMS. So, like, in an instant, right? And even if somebody sends me a message back, I don't know if you guys are noticing it yet, but you should, that more and more of like phone apps and more default apps are starting to include the translation, starting to include the option to translate what's come across to you if it's in a foreign language, if it's not your default language. So that language, linguistics, watch out, guys. By the end of next year, linguistics and I don't want to say learning another language is I'm never going to say that learning is useless. Never. You're never going to hear me say that learning is useless. Learning how to do stuff is always useful. Doesn't matter what it is. I don't care what. Please teach your kids how to write. I'm having issues with that. I'm having issues with people under 20 who I can't read what they're writing because they just don't know how to write. But it's not a negative thing to know how to write, even if you don't do it every day. Uh, Good morning, Janet. Thank you so much, and glad you enjoy the view. If you're starting out, what two tools would you suggest GPT-4 and Midjourney? Um, they are the blanket options. I wouldn't say Midjourney, to be honest with you, not right away, only because of the fact that you'll get wrapped up in image generation very, very quickly. And even though Midjourney is what I would we'll see, Dolly 3 is very, very promising. Leonard, who has talked about it, that yeah, both Leonard, I think, and another friend of mine, Jordan, have also talked about the fact that Dolly 3 is really impressive. So it's tough to tell like who's going to be the better one. And so in that case, right, you have GPT that has both your process handling issue capabilities, and it's also going to have your image generating capabilities. It's possible. So you may only need the one tool. It's possible that that's what they're trying to accomplish is the best all-in-one tool. Wouldn't surprise me, and I don't see them not being able to do it. I think the next person to try to release any sort of major breakthrough is going to be sorry, because that's what's going to the next major breakthrough is what's going to trigger GPT-5 release. That's just the way it is. It's probably ready to release right now. The only reason they're not doing it, people like if you want to understand what the moat is for AI, it's not what all the investors thought it was. It's not what all the techies thought it was. All the investors and techies thought, well, you have to have a niche. You have to have something that separates you from the competition. They do. The advancement. The advancement is the moat. The direction is the moat. If Claude keeps going in the direction that it does, they don't have to worry. I wouldn't put like even GPT. It's tough. There are times where even with all the custom instructions and all the stuff that I can layer on there, it gets really good. But Claude just has a really great grasp of natural language. Just better than GPT. It just does it better. Um, Top two tools. I would say to not have to pay anything and get like a good feel for what's capable. I would say Hugging Chat for like a free service that kind of has the capabilities of GPT-4. It has it's got nearly it's trained on nearly the same amount of data, has and again has nearly the same capabilities. You can upload files as well, so you can do a little bit of cross comparison. Doesn't have plugins, but again, it's close. It's really close. It gives you enough to play with that you'll have a better understanding of how the models work. Free image generator is what I would go for, and in that case, you can use Midjourney up to a certain point, and then I think you have to pay. I forget how much it is, and God, what's the other one? There's so many, to be honest with you. You could use Dolly too. I think that one's free, and it's probably not going to be used as much as anymore. But that's also like it's harder to use a little bit. There's Night Cafe. I think you can do several generations there without having to pay, or I think it's like maybe even a per day limit that you can do. Leonardo also allows for free generations up to a certain amount, and then you have to pay. So I would let's see if you're really going to invest your time and money, and like you want to go down these roads, you want to learn about these two types of tools. Yes, I would invest the $20 into GPT. You can start with the free edition, but it's pretty blatant from the free edition to see like if you're comparing the free edition to other language models out there, that's a misnomer. That's a mistake. Like don't it's not worth doing because GPT 3.5 is last year's stuff, right? So like what's the point? We're 9 months into this year. Why would you be doing that? Um, Again, where's the moat? The model. The moat is the model. Okay. Um, so yeah, definitely a GPT-4 plus subscription, I would say. And I don't know, Midjourney is expensive to jump right into it. Even the initial, I think it's like a $10 level. I don't know that you get. I think you still get kind of limited on that because you can only do regular generations. You can't do fast generations, so it's a little bit limiting there. Can get annoying basically because of the amount of people who use Midjourney. It could get annoying. Um, I guess image generation wise, you know what? There's Firefly too, and I don't know if Firefly is free or what the cost on it. I imagine the cost on it has to be fairly small now in order to compete with everybody else. So there's definitely a couple options out there, and I do actually recommend Firefly oddly enough because it's not bad. The image generators it's not Midjourney, but it's not bad. It's definitely nice to play around with. It's fun. I would suggest Microsoft Designer if you can actually get into it. If you sign up for it, it's free, and it's again, it's like a Dolly 2 level image generator, something to play around with just so you get a good feel for that, basically. Upgraded to Pro, canceled Jasper. Yeah, yeah. No, that's and that's the thing. I was talking about that earlier. The fact that basically what you did was you saved yourself $20 a month because everything that you were thinking about doing in Jasper, everything that you thought that you needed Jasper in order to do, you don't. You can do it with GPT, right? Yeah, it's their designers. It's nifty. It's neato, right? It's Microsoft's version of Canva. That's what it is, and it has an image generator in it. Canva's got an image generator in it. I think for I think by comparison, because I also do Canva on a monthly. I do Canva, Midjourney, GPT, Kyber. Who else? I haven't uh, I haven't bit on Claude yet. I'm just waiting for Anthropic to be a little bit more reasonable because, sorry, Claude's awesome, but it's not $20 a month awesome. It's like $10 a month awesome for sure. Um, nice, nice. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I mean, I would definitely you know suggest a GPT plus subscription at your minimum for text generation, and then when it comes to image generation, if you're really dead set on doing it, bite the bullet for just the 1 month, right? Subscribe to Midjourney for a month. I suggest the $30 a month level because you can do fast generations, so it'll take care of that itch, um, and play around with it. And if you use it as much as you think you're going to in that month, stick with it. If you don't, find I wouldn't say find an alternative, but maybe downgrade to the base edition. And again, if you're not using it as often, you probably also don't care about the amount of time that it takes to generate, so you should be fine with that too. But normally, normally, guys, I do 2 hours, but I'm on vacation, so just over an hour, and I think I'm gonna cut it here. I actually have to because I gotta go meet up with my cousin, and we're gonna go hang out a little bit. Regarding the topic about the future, with that in mind, if you had top five for starters, what would they be? Top five for starters. Do you mean like top five AI software platforms? Top five companies? Thank you for watching, by the way, and also for asking questions, Janet. Top five, like maybe top five resources for people starting out. Okay. Uh, for learning, I would, yeah, no, there's some great resources. Okay, so for learning, I would start with one of the two places, but you got two resources right off the bat. I would start with either LinkedIn or Google. Myself, I'm going to be doing the same thing. I'm going to be doing the Google courses this week and knocking those out. In terms of learning about it, I think the like LinkedIn course on generative AI and the Google course on generative AI cover everything you need to know with relation to generative AI in terms of the basics. Um, I think those are also the top two resources to learn from But and I say top two for particular reason. One, Google, both are start out free, and you can learn quite a bit. But also because Google is one of the top companies in the game right now, so they're definitely worth learning from. When with regard to LinkedIn, they definitely have a lot of experts in the field that they bring in to do their training videos as well. So it's not like you're losing anything there. Um, After that, honestly, I like to keep education free. I do. I I'm not saying that courses aren't worth paying for. I'm sure that there are. I'm sure they are. I just think that you can learn a lot on your own before you feel the need to have a more advanced course. I think advanced courses that you pay for are where you get your money's worth. I think beginner level stuff you can. My next answer was going to be YouTube University. I think that you can go on YouTube and you can learn ton, a ton about this stuff from YouTube. Most of what I know is from here. Here you go, shocker. Most of what I know how to do is either from YouTube or from TikTok. So oddly enough, the social media resources that you should be looking at are YouTube and TikTok. The non-social, well, if you could say non-social for LinkedIn, non-social sources you should be looking at are LinkedIn and Google. And OpenAI also is starting to publish blogs to discuss, talk about, and teach about generative AI, how to use their tools, how to use other tools like theirs. So the resources are definitely available. My top suggestions would be the Google badge courses and YouTube resources. Let me just jump into my resources really quick because I do hate saying like, oh, just go straight to YouTube. Of course, I need to sign in. Let's see. Put stuff out for you guys. Get there. It still bugs me that I can load other websites except for GPT because I had a really cool thing going before I logged in where I was going to see. I was going to see about creating an instance. Let me look and try to remember what it was exactly. Oh, I was using a um, the word clown. Sorry, I'm GPTing on the side. Um, so what I was doing was I was trying to, if you've been following me, my wife got a new job recently, and so I'm sort of trying to help her technologically, or through technology, let's say, trying to help her acclimate to her new position and be able to do more because she works for a nonprofit. She's in a new area. She doesn't know the area very well, so it obviously behooves her to be able to leverage technology in order to better understand her job, what she's got ahead of her, what she has going on. And so I'm trying to create conversations that she can use in order to leverage all of that, or to learn the area better, um, so that she can help out her organization and know who to follow up with, who to follow up on, and where she should be putting her marketing efforts to. It's interesting. Okay, I actually, oh, this really sucks. I'm not finding anything. Yeah, I wish I could. Well, I don't know. One of my two profiles here are not doing me too well in terms of favors. Um, history, library, watch later, maybe. Come on. Okay, so Matt Wolf. There we go. Matt Wolf is a really great resource on YouTube in terms of like trying to stay up on top of things. Go to Go is a is an amazing resource in terms of learning new stuff. Let me grab that link and throw it in the chat. That's one. Go to Go is really great. Learned a lot of OpenAI, or like not OpenAI, I just went across the name. Learned a lot of GPT hacks from that channel. Who else? Matt Wolf mainly for News. Let me see. I'm trying to find somebody that I use for. Let's see. There are just. I'm not even joking when I say there's too many to scroll through, and I can't say that they're all like really worth following because a lot of them I watch just to see what they are in terms of the content to tell you guys. So it's like I don't want to just uh, suggest something that's actually not worth looking at on your end. You know what? I'll put together a resource list because this isn't the first time. Diary of a CEO is another really good channel, actually. And there's a lot of good discussions that happen on that channel with regards to AI. It's a little bit more open ended, so it's not quite just like AI tech related. It has a lot of other content as well, but it is. I wouldn't say it's one of my favorite channels, but it's a very interesting channel because when he does have AI guests on, it's definitely worth the look see. It's worth following for it. Um, And then, yeah, and then I guess if you're into like coding, um, Arjan Codes is like a great channel to follow as well because it's basically like using GPT for coding purposes. So that's what I've got there. Um, yeah, if you get yeah, I know. Trust me, I didn't think I would ever be on TikTok at all. I thought that it was a generational thing and that I would be able to skip it, but unfortunately, yeah, it's nuts. You know, AI algorithms, right, can do some pretty crazy things. They can do some pretty awesome, like awesomely positive things, which most people you'd look at their TikTok feeds and they're probably full of like dance videos and all that kind of stuff. And mine is full of nothing but like DeGrasse Tyson and like science related stuff and AI related stuff. Like those are the only things that ever come through on my feed. So all right, guys, I got to end it there. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you, Janet, for interacting. I really, really do appreciate it. Um, and yeah, I will definitely. I'll still be on next week. I will come up with the cover and graphics and all that. The graphics might be different because I don't know that I've got access to my stuff here. Actually, I know I don't. So it's gonna be a different graphic for the show next week. But so well, it's one in all of them. But yeah, I will look forward to seeing you guys next week. Have a good one, and thanks for being here to GPT with me.